Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined, as always, by my trusted partner. What's his name?
I don't know. This guy.
And our very special guest, sorry, I'm still adjusting my phone. And our very special guest, our very, very special guest this week is Clayton from Total Packers Access. Hello,
Yay, Clayton's here.
What's going on, guys? So glad to be here. Big fan of you guys. Love the energy you bring. I was telling Matt offline that two of my favorite social media follows. It's a breath of fresh air when you can log on to someone's social media account and not come away just pulling your hair out. Just being nice to each other for once is awesome.
We try to keep it nice here. We try to keep
That's
it
right. Nice. Appreciate that, Clayton. I appreciate the kind words, man. We love your stuff. We love your attitude too. I mean, the fact that you sign off your stuff with like go out and be the change you want to see. Like every time, man, that just makes me smile. Like literally, like I'm like, yeah, yes, love that energy.
And it's funny. It's also a reminder to me every time because I can be that way too, right? It's like when you say it out loud, you kind of you're holding yourself accountable too, right? So say it every day, and it forces you to be nice too. So that's what it's
right.
Yeah.
Good.
A lot of times the things that we want to like manifest, we do that by saying them. And that's, I mean, I'm not going as far as like, Aaron Rodgers saying words are spells and that's why it's called spelling. Right. I'm not trying to go there, but in that general direction that, yeah, we manifest things by saying them, we keep them present. We put that energy out into the world, and that's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
And no matter what your belief system is, I feel like that's a law that's sown into the earth. I believe that.
Yeah.
You say it enough, and you begin to believe it. It's what you think about, and it's what you focus on. So,
absolutely agree. Absolutely.
So sorry.
So Dawn, we should, for some background, Dawn's actually like at home in Wisconsin right now.
Let's go.
I'm at my mom's house, so my background might look a little different. And I just gave her computer. She's watching us on YouTube. It's about 10 feet away. So she's watching us both ways. So, hey, how was your week, guys? Clayton, how was your week? Anything exciting happened this week?
My week's been great. I appreciate you asking. It's busy. When we launched the podcast, it was I won't get into the whole backstory, but it was kind of a sporadic thing. And all right, we'll commit to 1 a week, and then it turned into 2 a week, and then 4 a week. And now we're doing basically, more than, in some cases, 7 or 8 a week. It just depends on the guests we line up. And so that and running a couple other businesses, it's it is hard to find time to sleep for sure, but it's fun. We're having a good time.
Wow.
You mentioned guests there, Clayton. It's just real quick side question. It's like I'm getting like way ahead of ourselves as far as like questions go, but like who's the favorite guest you've had on your show so far? There's been a lot of good ones.
And it's tough because we've been very blessed to speak to a lot of people that I respect and appreciate their opinions on things. And it's funny because I don't want to say I didn't expect it, but it's definitely hands down been Tony Mandarich. Because when I reached out to Tony Mandarich, it was like everybody's got this vision that Tony was a bust. He was selfish. He was, the epitome of just a player you don't want on your team and this and that. And then I got to reading a little bit about his story. I'm like, this guy completely owned up to it and got to change the direction of the end of his career and prove to himself he could get back in the league and do it the right way, do it through hard work. And I came away from that interview. I mean, Ryan sat in on it. Ryan Schlip, obviously the founder of Packernet Podcast, he sat in on it in the background and listened. And afterwards he was like, I told him, I said, I don't know what just happened, but I'm that changed me.
I know that he was. Am I frozen? You guys frozen? Hold on.
You're back.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm cut out a little bit there. Clayton, I was just going to say that interview with Tony Mandarich was so cool. I think we actually talked about it on the podcast here, because you're right. Like everyone has this idea of him being like the most colossal bust ever, at least as far as the Packers draft goes. And it was really touching and really insightful, and it was a good reminder that like these are people.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Even people that might have flaws. Imagine that.
Like me. Right.
Yeah, and feelings too. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the big thing. And it, it's kind of like with Mike Wall, having him on a lot. Mike's kind of an intense person, right? You could tell he's still into working out, and he's into breaking down offensive line play and working actually with active football players and that type of thing. But speaking to him, you have to step back a minute and go, this is a man with a family, right? And we forget that about athletes, I believe. We expect them to be up to our standard, although like I always joke, I'm fat, out of shape on the couch saying, how is the defense this tired right now in the fourth quarter? you forget that these are real things.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's true. A little bit of humble pie to start out the show. I like it.
Right.
I like it. And Maddie, how was your week?
Having a great week. Of course, I'm really excited about going to the game this weekend. Like super.
You're going to the game this weekend?
Did you know that, Dawn?
Oh, no.
Yep, I'm going to the game this weekend and gonna meet a lot of cool people there. So excited about that. And so that's definitely big in my headspace. But apart from that, I had a staff retreat today at work. And that was like a really fun time. And earlier this week, found out that my older kid has been invited to play like in a special jazz group in the school district. Nice. So really excited for them. Started helping them on some of the music tonight. And so yeah, it's just like a really fun, exciting week. So I'm good. How about you, Dawn? How's your week going?
It's going pretty well. My mom is keeping me super busy though. Never a dull moment with mama. And Tosh is with me. She took her first flight across the entire United States.
How did that go?
My cat, she was a champ.
Nice.
An absolute champ. She's a little confused though, like, where are we? And my mother has a cat too, and she's like, hi. She's like, what's going on? Why is there a cat in our apartment? But they're getting, Tosh is getting really adjusting well. She's going out on the balcony outside, and she's a little afraid of my mom. She's not a people person, but she's getting there. She's coming along. And we haven't yet been able to introduce the two cats though, and I'm just dying to do that. I bought all kinds of special toys, like my favorite one for them, and I can't wait to show Smokey because we play with this at home. It's you either fill up the sink or the bathtub with water, and there are these little electric fishes that swim around, and so there's like 12 of them, all different colors, and they light up, and the cats like to play with them. And so I'm just dying for Smokey to come out and like meet Tosh so we can play with the fish.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my life. And rescued another kitten. Can you believe it?
Oh, tell me more about that. What happened?
Another kitten. It's the fourth kitten this year in like a few months. This one was my same neighbor who found the last one. It was in a tree right between our apartments, way up high in the tree, mew, 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 like 30 feet up. And it was a kitten, not a cat. And so, of course, she calls me, what do I do? And I'm like, you know what you do? I'm tracking. Okay, so I brought out a carrier. And what I do is, okay, so anyone who's listening to the pod or watching us, if you ever find a kitten and you need it to come out, you take your phone and you go to YouTube and you find videos of kittens meowing and you play the meowing. And they come to the kitten sounds.
Seriously? Yeah, life hack. Let me write that down.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
That's wild. We're down here in Tennessee. You know, we don't have two brain cells to rub together. We just shake the tree until it jumps out. Or something.
Oh my God. No, I mean they'll come out, or at least if you have a cat that's lost and you can't find them and you do that, they'll meow back. Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah. So it came down. Yep. So this time I let her handle it. Some help, but I brought the music over or the meows over, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that." She gets panicky, I think. But yeah, and I think one of the neighbors, another neighbor, is actually going to take the kitten, so it's going to stay in the around. So that's kind of cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So hey, Clayton, you ready for us to interview you and get your deepest, darkest secret?
I think I'm ready. I don't think y'all are ready for the answers, though.
Oh, okay.
This may get cut sooner rather than later here. I don't know.
Well, remember, it's a family show.
Right. I'm with you.
And before we do that, any comments on this game that's going on? We're in halftime right now, Thursday Night Football. Anything we want to say about it before we start with
I'm a little bit surprised that the Giants are keeping up, right? I would love to see the Giants upset the Niners, obviously. But, anytime a team is catching as many points as the Giants are, it is kind of slap in the face of the organization. So those guys are going to come out ready to play, So I'm excited to see how the second half goes. It's going to come down to second half adjustments, and the Giants, they've got a shot here. They got a shot.
Yep.
Are they playing in New York or San Francisco?
I believe San Francisco, I think. I could be wrong, but it looks like San Francisco to me. Is that what you're thinking, Matt?
I am not sure about that, but keep talking. I'll check it out real fast. So.
As you can tell, I usually watch the Thursday night game, but I just got in from dinner, so my schedule's a little different this week.
It's in San Francisco, yeah. You're right.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough. We'll see how it goes, though.
Go Giants.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't say that every day, that's for sure.
No.
Quick side note before we get going too much further here, just to both of you. I was distracted from in there because I realized my Wi-Fi was not on for the modem up here, so that was part of the issues we're having. I got it fixed now. We're all good, and I'm more focused. So here we go.
Okay, it's definitely those nights. We kind of got off to a rocky start.
I figured it was me, to be honest with you.
No, mostly
that was me. It was totally me.
If you've seen this extension cord we've got run down the holler, I'm telling you, you would understand completely. But.
I'll have to think of a life hack for that. I don't know if I have an answer on that. All right. Well, what we love to do, and hopefully you can hear me okay, so I don't have my usual mic, but
you're fine.
What we love to do to start our show when we have a special guest like you, like Clayton, we like to start out by reading your Twitto. And so the Twitto account for Packers Total Access -Clayton says at Packers_access. If you want to give them a follow,
which you should.
Sorry,
I said you should give them a follow.
You should. Yeah. I thought you said tissue. I don't know what I heard. Sorry. At Packers_access, Clayton is the host of Packers Total Access, which is why he has 8 podcasts a week, because it's Total Access.
Total Access.
Living up to your name. Proud member of the Packernet podcast family. And we did have the aforementioned, I just drew a blank,
Pack Daddy,
Ryan Schlip on our show prior. Sorry, Ryan. My brain went like that. And you can support the show at www.patreon.com at Clayton Bailey or /Clayton Bailey. The podcast is Packers Total Access. That's what it's called. And you can reach him at gmail.com. So he also do you do all of your live podcasts on YouTube Live or just some of them?
Yeah, with my personality type, I'm kind of a choleric melancholy. I'm a logistician, if you will. So I'm very detail oriented. So I tried to do a podcast where I recorded it and then edited it, and it was never getting done. I'm just going to force myself to go live every single time. And I do that on YouTube now, and I just use the audio for the pod, and it's worked out pretty good. It allows me to not slow down with the whole, just getting drugged down by me trying to make things absolutely perfect. And
Yep.
I've come to find out that that's some of the best pods are when things just happen randomly and we have a good
That's
time.
right.
With it. So that's live, right?
I like that. Yeah, that was a really good. I'm glad I asked you that. When Matt and I started the podcast, I was down for doing a lot of the background work, but I'm like, I'm not going to edit this podcast. So you can yell this for the first time. I refuse to edit. I'm very much to a perfectionist. It would never get done. It would never, ever.
I completely relate.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cool. That's cool to share that. So let's hear a little bit more about this Southern accent. Exactly where are you? A Packers fan from where and like why and all of that?
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town called Harlan County, Kentucky. You guys may have heard of the TV show called Justified.
I was going to say that's Justified. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's obviously Hollywooded up, but yes, the opening scene, they show the big smokestack. That's about 2 minutes from my house back home. So yeah, I grew up there. So you're getting a southeastern Kentucky accent. Now I moved to Tennessee right before I graduated high school and went to Knoxville. So I've got that Tennessee accent as well, but it's mostly Kentucky, which I'm of Irish descent, Scottish Irish. And, that's kind of how a lot of the Appalachian accent came about. So I always tell people, if when people complain about the pod, I say, well, you're wrong for convincing yourself after hearing my accent that this was going to somehow be professional, because it's not. I speak English at about a third grade level. I'm high school educated, and high school educated back home in Harlan County is the equivalent to probably about seventh grade, to be honest with you. So that's just the way it is. So this is what you got. That's where the accent comes from.
Wow, it's intriguing. My mother was watching, what was that band last night? The Irish band? Oh, the
Celtic Thunder.
Yeah, Celtic Thunder.
Nice.
And they sing and dance and have music and all that. And so I came in to see what she was listening to, and it seemed very much, I thought it was an Appalachian group.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a lot of the bluegrass stuff, if you really focus in, Matt, you're probably better at this than anyone, having a little bit of a instrumental background. But if you really focus on some of the bluegrass stuff, it has, you can pick up on that Irish kind of So, and there's something about bluegrass. I'm not a big music person, but when I hear it, I go right back to home, and it's just it kind of hits you. There's some just certain things like that's kind of. I don't know, lack of a better way of saying it's kind of bred into you, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, it's in your blood, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. I like some bluegrass music. I used to listen to it here in Wisconsin, like on Sundays. I think there was a radio show, and then there would be concerts in the summer. And
I loved it.
My father loved bluegrass, and he loved Johnny Cash too.
Yes, I'm a big Johnny Cash. Oh my gosh.
My mother and father took me to a Johnny Cash concert.
Really?
Yeah. It was June Carter and the Carter sisters, and I didn't want to go. And I was being like, I'm not going to like it. And then I was sitting there. Do you remember this, Mother? I was sitting there.
No.
The show started, and I was like tapping my foot a little bit. And my mom looks at me and she says, "You like it, don't you?" And no. But I loved it. At the end, I was like, "Yeah, okay, I like it. I love Johnny Cash and June Carter." Yeah.
And I'm a big sucker for cultures, like anything that's like a new culture, or not say a new culture, but a culture I'm not familiar with, whether it's food. I'm sure you can tell by the extra chins I've got. I love trying different kind of cultural foods, music. I'm not a huge music person, but documentaries, that's the thing. Like, I'm constantly listening to documentaries. That's just my thing. And I love some of the stuff you've done, Dawn, on some of the court cases and things. I'll fall asleep to that. Mandy, my wife Mandy's like, how do you fall asleep listening to a trial about a murder? And I'm down here trying to lock the doors, and I'm sleeping like a baby. Like, no, this is it. This is it for me.
I know, it's true. I'm like that too now, and it's like the goriest stuff. And I used to never be able to handle it. I mean, seriously, I couldn't stand. I wouldn't watch local news, and like my mother likes those NCIS type shows, and I'll just go in the other room. I can't handle that. But I like trials for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I like the trials and the law part of it. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. That's good. There's one coming up next month that I am so jazzed about. It's it's the third trial for one murder. 4 people, but 3 more have to yet be arrested.
Wow.
It's this huge conspiracy, and it was a law professor that got murdered.
Oh my God.
And he was extremely interested. He was considered the brightest mind in law in the United States, and he was murdered. And his whole existence was about justice and criminal justice, and he was, anti-life death penalty and all about rehabilitation and all that. So it's just really sad that he was just a really good man. So it's just a really infuriating murder.
Gotcha.
So that's why I'm interested in it. But so
tune in. Right down my alley. I'll be there. I will be there with popcorn. I promise you.
Yeah, it starts October 23rd, and Katie is going to be here Saturday, because sometimes I have Katie Sunderman on. Yeah, and so we're going to do our podcast from here, sitting next to each other instead of so that's going to
be awesome.
Yeah, right here on this channel. So I shouldn't say podcast. I have not turned the true crime into a podcast. I was told I should, but
I would.
Yeah, I probably should. Oh, we have a lot of episodes. I've got a lot of videos I've done. So cool. Okay, so how did you then become a Packer fan? What happened?
Okay, so I was living in Knoxville. I get that question a lot. They see me with Packer gear here in Tennessee, and so I was living in Knoxville, and I was helping run a carpet cleaning and restoration franchise, and we had a little bit of a break in between 2 jobs. So I went to a Best Buy, and I'm just looking around, just kind of killing time, and I seen this box set that said the history of the Green Bay Packers. And keep in mind, at the time, I was a huge college football fan. I didn't follow pro sports, right? That pro football that much. So I picked it up, and I kept hearing of people talk about, first thing that popped in my mind was people talking about historic Lambeau Field and the tradition of the Green Bay Packers. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm going to pick this DVD set up and just see what it's about. I watched that DVD. It had and it had the ISPO. And 2 weeks later, at the time, it was my girlfriend, Mandy. We're married now. 2 weeks later, we were sitting at Lambeau Field watching the Packers-Bears play. That's how quick it happened. I've been a Packers fan ever since. So.
Wow. When was that? What year was that? Do you remember?
It was 2003. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It was awesome. We were so excited, and I at the time I had a lot of respect for Bears fans, because the ones that I came across at Lambeau that day, you felt a mutual respect between the fan bases, right? And you get on Twitter, you wouldn't think that even existed, right? But that's a whole different world. I don't want to say fake world, but it probably is a fake world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I've talked about on the show over here, Clayton, is that when I lived in Chicago and would wear Packers gear around town, it was never violent or angry or anything like that. As people they'd be friendly, and there was the kind of ribbing each other or whatever, but it was always basically friendly. And I would say most of my interactions with Bears fans on Twitter have actually been very positive until the preseason, because they were so chirpy about the first game, and now their franchise is falling on hard times. Last week
I talked about it in the pod tonight. I was treading water. I don't want to get too deep into what's going on, but this sounds bad. It's
bad. And I don't want to rub it in at this point. I'm just guys, I'm so sorry.
You guys heal up.
Yeah, it's getting better.
That was the other thing too, and this it was the perfect storm. The seats we got, my wife or my girlfriend at the time and I were sitting there watching. pregame. We got in the stadium as soon as they opened the gates. And I had these two guys approach us and said, hey, our girlfriends or wives or whatever were sitting there. Would you like to switch seats with us? We're actually closer to the field. And me, like where I was raised, you don't trust anybody. And I'm like, kind of standoffish by nature. And I remember telling the guys, like, listen, if I go down here and these tickets aren't good for these seats, I know exactly where to find you. And I'm coming right back up here. Like and Mandy, I couldn't tell you how many times Mandy was like, calm down, Clayton. We switched seats, and it just so happened you couldn't have painted a better. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. We ended up sitting next to this old couple right now, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but they were older couple, and the guy, I get to talking to him. He was at the Ice Bowl with his dad, right, and his wife was just the sweetest lady you ever meet. And we ended up getting to watch our first game at Lambeau next to these lifelong season ticket holders that were just, I mean, he just told me so much history.
Wow.
And it added to everything that we experienced. And by the end of the game, we're scoring a touchdown and Mandy's hugging her and they're jumping up. Like we've known each other forever. It was all because those two guys, I thought they were trying to rip me off. And if I hadn't switched seats with them, we would have never had that experience. And that's always been kind of my view on Lambeau and Packer fans. It's just awesome.
Oh, I love that. What a cool story. My mom and I went for a doctor's appointment today, and her doctor is from Chicago. I hope it's okay to say that. Her doctor's from Chicago. Really nice doctor. Spent a lot of time together, and I was listening to his accent, and I thought he was from Chicago, and because there is a little difference. And toward the end, what did I say? I mentioned something about a podcast. I don't know what. Anyway, I said I had to record the podcast, and he wanted to know the name, and he wants to tune in. But when he said he was from Chicago, that was toward the end. And then so when we were saying goodbye, I said, well, he said, have fun at Lambeau this week. And I said, oh, thanks. Have fun watching the Bears. And I meant it in the nicest way. And he's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. It was really cute.
Hope that dumpster fire doesn't get too bad out of hand this weekend.
And I was like, but yeah, it was awesome. My mom's.
I've always had good experiences in Chicago too. Like you hear about how, certain areas are bad, and the news will always tell you the worst, obviously. But we went to Chicago one time, me and Mandy. We went to watch the Cubs play. I wanted to see Wrigley, and we're in her little Volkswagen Bug, and we're going downtown. We stopped to get gas, and it was full service, which was kind of rare from where we were from or whatever. The guy took our card. I wasn't paying attention. I drove off without the card. Okay. So from my perspective, I'm going right down. We're going to the Navy Pier, and I'm going right downtown Chicago. And this van is swerving in and out of traffic behind me, and I could see them. I was like, what are they doing? And they get right up on my bumper and start honking the horn. So again, my temper takes over. It's like, all right, let's do this. I pulled over. And it was that guy who was like, you forgot your card. He chased me through Chicago to give me my card back. And I was like,
wow.
Probably wouldn't have happened back home. Somebody would have been buying some pork rinds and some beer or something. You know what I mean? They probably wouldn't have brought it back. But I've always had good experience in Chicago personally. So,
yeah, that's really nice.
I mean, Chicago, I think any big city will get kind of – people will be afraid of it, if they're not from a bigger city, especially if it's an even smaller, more isolated place they may have grown up because they don't have the experience with it. But I mean, it's just people getting through their day, and there's problems that come with any kind of urban environment. But people like that, they're just honest people who want to help and just trying to get through the day. So.
Yep.
I love Chicago. I mean, living there for 6 years, eventually I needed to move because it was too expensive and just too much for the stage and the life in our life that my wife and I, are currently at, and we're at that point. But we love the city, man. It's a great place, and just a fascinating tapestry of people, from all kind of walks of life, from all places on the planet, and just all kinds of different cultures and stuff.
Yeah.
I miss it sometimes.
Yeah. I like Chicago. And hello, Bill. Hi, Bill. Bill says he's from Chicago. Bill from Packers Reddit. from Chicago originally. I think we talked about that when you were on the show, Bill. But Lambeau is the best.
Yes, it is.
That's right.
So let's see. I had another crazy question for you, and I thought of something else when you were talking, but my brain I should start taking notes. I'm getting old. There it
is. Yep. Once for sure.
I have to mention my age at least once every week. Okay. That's a tradition. So did you have a strange experience on your trip to New York? Is that regarding?
Oh gosh.
Same?
Yeah. We were talking about embarrassing moments, man. I'm telling you, I tell people all the time on the pod, if you haven't heard me say or saw me do something stupid yet, hang around. It's coming. I promise you. But we went to New York for the first time, and you take someone out of Harlan County, Kentucky, and drop them right into Manhattan, and these type of things happen. But me and my wife, we went down. We were going to go see, the World Trade Center and kind of the memorial that they were beginning to build. And this was back in it was probably 2007, I guess. We were going to go see Yankee Stadium, all that stuff. So we take the subway into the city, and we decide we're going to walk all the way, or we're going to take the train down, and then we're going to walk back up, right? So we get to the World Trade Center. We stop in this little deli, and we grab something to eat. And there's a lot of history there around the Trade Center and everything. And I use the restroom, and we kind of get ready. We're like, you know what? Let's take the subway back up. Let's walk a good ways. We'll take the subway back up. So it was probably, 4 or 5 hour trip back to our hotel room. We just kind of made a day of it.
Yeah.
And we're on the subway, and I remember we talked to some Mets fans who had, I think, just came back from a Mets game. They were going back to Long Island. We got to talk to them. And I'm standing on the subway. You know how it is when it's crowded. You're holding on to the rail and all that good stuff. I bet we talked to 50 different people. So we finally get up to the Grand Central Station terminal, whatever you want to call it. We take the connecting train back over to Queens where we were staying, and we just made a day of it. And we get into the elevator. And I walk into the elevator, and Mandy walks in behind me. And as I turn around, she just collapses on the floor laughing. And I was like, I thought she passed out. I was like, you know what? And the doors closed. She's laying on the floor in the elevator laughing. And at the time, when she laughs, when she gets tickled, there's no noise that comes out. It's just like she's not even breathing. She's laughing so hard. The doors closed, and it was like this bronze finish, So it's kind of like a mirror on the door,
Right.
And I could see in the reflection that my fly was wide open.
Oh, no.
and I'm talking about, and she tells it best. She was like, it wasn't just open. Like it was, it was bad. Anyway, and the first thing that popped in my mind, guys, was being on that subway.
Right.
Yeah.
So many people talked with you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, unbelievable. But again, there are hundreds of stories on me like that. I swear, I think the only reason she's still married, we've been together for 23 years. We started dating when we were just kids, and we've been married now since 2006. I think she just likes to laugh, and I'm the perfect guy to make fun of. There's always something going on, always. So, that was my New York story. That was me hitting the Big Apple.
The Big Apple, fly open. I love it. We love getting to know our guests a little bit better in ways that you never would have known before. So that DVD, so I'm popping back to your DVD set. That's the 8-part thing that's available, right? Like that's like the one that. Yeah.
This one was actually the old school NFL Films one. So it was one disc was the history of the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
It came with a bonus disc that was the entire Ice Bowl. With the NFL Films, like they would pause the game and interview players that played in it and stuff like that.
Oh.
It was one of the older ones. I want to say it was created probably around 2000, somewhere around there. But I do have the new Legacy documentary. I've got that. And I've got Cliff Crystal's book set to go with it, which Cliff Crystal is like, that is one of my dream guests for the pod. I haven't got the courage to send an email yet, but I just know that I'm going to completely fan out on him, and he's going to never talk to us again because I'm going to be really weird. I love the work that guy's done and how straightforward. I love people who are brash, not rude, but You don't ever have to worry about, is that really what they think? Is that
Right,
really, you know what I mean? Just
right.
honest, and he just seems straightforward when he talks
Yeah.
about the history. He'll tell you the shortcomings of Curly Lambeau. He'll tell you the negative aspects of the team. You know, it's important. It's
Right.
important to have the complete truth. And yeah, I love Cliff Crystal for that. But yeah, that was the old DVD set by NFL Films. They did an excellent job. So
I've got
Okay.
the Cliff Crystal books right over there, looking right at them, and man, I love his stuff. He seems like he must be so crusty. I think he'd be like he's very very straightforward. I think he probably doesn't have any filters when he's talking about this stuff for sure. I mean, I feel like sometimes like his answers to questions, like when he writes those kind of columns, like it's almost combative in a way that's like, you know what, man, I'm gonna give you that because you know what you're talking about, and you're the foremost expert on this stuff. So
I relate to that, man. I would rather somebody smack me around than tell me something that they think I want to hear. You know,
Right.
I want to know the truth. And it's something we've lost in today's society. Everybody's so divided, and it's just like it doesn't matter what's true and what's right. All that matters is that my side's right, and that drives me insane. It's like we're never going to get anywhere if we continue down that path. And it doesn't matter what the topic is; it could be anything. Just respecting each other and respecting each other's opinion mainly, and whether you disagree or not, just being able to handle the truth and do with it what you want, you know?
Yeah.
Here.
I like it. I like it. So here's a question we love to ask all of our guests. What one thing do you love the most about the online Packers and NFL community that we've been talking about? And what is one thing you would change if you had the power to change anything?
Ooh, man, the power to change anything is tough. But I will say that the one thing that I love about the Packers community, and more specifically online, is once you weed out like all the toxicity, right? And there's some people that just want to be mean, right? Once you get them out of the way, we've got an awesome group of caring, passionate fans, and really it feels like us as fans have our own organization, right, in the Packers community. It's almost like we've got our own team. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you want to know X's and O's and understand the game, you've got someone like Mike Wall, right, that can cover it. And you've got Dusty Evely, who is just like, I call him the Greg Cosell of Packer fans. You know, Greg Cosell has been with NFL Films since the 70s. He's just, Dusty is awesome. You've got people like that. If you want a good rant, right, and you want somebody who's very analytical, there's no one better than Ryan Schlitt. He is just absolutely phenomenal, right? And you've got other just random follows. There's too many to mention on Twitter. That it's just always something positive. And you know, even I don't even want to call them shortcomings. I want to say, you know, obstacles that people have overcome, whether it's addiction or anything else. Them just sharing enough and not being dramatic and not seeking any kind of like pity party or anything, but just sharing like, hey, here's what I'm overcoming, and they're willing to drop their guard down just long enough to share that with you, and they can gain strength from other people. And just be real with each other. Like once you get past those fans, like I said, that are toxic, we've got an awesome community. And I just love that it feels like we are a team, and there's just constantly information being shared. You know, it's a funny tweet, a funny meme, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably going to screw her name up. Is it Erin Alice? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. The Mark Murphy on the tube. It is, and I tell her every time I see it, I'm like, this is like the highlight of my week. I just want to do special requests, like a request line. Can you put Mark Murphy on a tube here? Like, it's just, I love it, man. Absolutely love it. So we've got some awesome people. Of course, Big B, you know. Big B and his bootleg videos, putting it all on the line for us Packer fans. I love it. Absolutely. And
That's phenomenal.
It takes an underage one to get away with that, right? Like anybody else's fan. But it's just awesome. It's awesome. And you got, I mean, there's far too many to mention all of them. But these are just some that come, you know, like Andy Herman's breakdowns are just straight to the point. This guy, he talks 90 miles a minute, but he says it in a way that you hear every word. You understand every word. It's phenomenal. I like Baz, you know, from Basarowski Productions. I've gotten to know him a little bit. He's given me all kinds of advice and tips on YouTube. Great guy.
Nice.
And I actually learned about him through you guys. Don, you were talking about how he started his YouTube channel when he was in high school, I think.
Yep.
And that's why it's important to be. It's why it's important that you guys do what you do, because really you're not the only one, but you're a huge part of being the fabric that kind of holds that community together, because you're keeping us all aware of, hey, there's also this guy, there's this guy, there's all these things. It's important. It's important to stay connected, especially today, because it can be a cold world out there if you let it, and it's just nice to be plugged in and associating with people who are positive. And really, it's a decision. That's something Dusty told me a long time ago. I'm like, Dusty, I never see you arguing on Twitter. Like, why ain't you in the battle over here with Bears fans? He said, you can just choose not to engage in it. And I'm like, Dusty, why you got to be this much more mature than me? And I think about that all the time before I respond to something. If somebody comes at me, and they come at me a lot, they do. And they try to provoke me. And I immediately think of Dusty, like, Dusty said, you ain't got to respond. Nobody's making you respond.
That's right.
And that
what would Dusty do?
The block button is your friend.
Yeah.
He's extremely wise, man. He said a lot of things I think about all the time, actually, like finding what your, like, as a content creator, what your niche is, and just kind of like doing that, like finding your lane and staying in it, like is an amazing thing. And like the idea of not getting too upset if we lose a game, because it's like, it's like for entertainment, and we can't let it like affect our like life after it's over. Maybe take an hour, take a half hour to like process and like let it out, but then after that it's time to go hang out with your family, and go be present and stuff like that. There's his whole attitude towards life, man. I don't know, it's awesome.
It is great.
And Dusty's from Kentucky too.
He's up around the Lexington area. He obviously he got a way better education than me. He talks somewhat normal, but he is I found out he was in Lexington, and we talk a little Wildcats every now and again. But I try not to bother him too much. I know he's busy, but if he would, he would be on my show every day, right? When we do get together, it's a blast. We just nerd out over football film, but, just the terminology and everything that most people don't care about. We're over here just like, yes, more. We need more.
Yeah,
love it.
I've learned so much from him.
Dusty is he's busy. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to acknowledge that Pappy is in the building. Hello, Pappy.
Right.
Pappy has a lot. He brings humor every week. He's got a lot to say. First of all, he said, dust off your AARP card, Donnie. He says, speaking of addiction, my name is Pappy, and it's been 48 hours since I thought it said years. Okay. He says, I hear sirens on the way to Big B's house right now. And he said, this I love. You guys are the curd in the cheese of life.
I'll take it. Sounds awesome.
It sounds positive, doesn't it?
Right, it does. I'm not sure what it means, but I'm going to take it.
Oh, it's not positive? Oh, well, I'm taking it as positive.
It could be. Sure.
I think it is. Totally I think it is.
Hola. Yeah, nice to see you, Pappy. All right. So, okay. And so you have two businesses that you run. You're podcasting 8 times a week. You're watching a ton of football, and I have a feeling Mandy's who you're going to mention, but this is your chance to shout out those in your life who help you do what you do for the Packers community.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it definitely starts with her, and the reason being, Don, is because, how I got into podcasting, I thought about doing this like almost a decade ago when I really started getting into the X's and O's and trying to understand the game a little bit different, at a different level. And Ryan put out a thing on Facebook on it, and I follow Packernet Podcast, listened to his podcast, and he put out a thing and said, hey, we're thinking about launching a few more podcasts. If you'd be interested, if anyone would be interested, let us know. So I showed it to Mandy, and she was like, you need to reach out to him. Like this, I think it's time for me to do this. And I was, I've definitely got self-image issues. I understand and accept that now. So I was just kind of brushing under the rug. No, I got too much on my plate. Come up with 1,000 reasons not to reach out. And then she reminded me the next day, like, hey, did you reach out to that guy? And I was like, all right, you know what? I will. So I reached out to him thinking it wouldn't go anywhere. And he said, yeah, man, just do some kind of, like a test run. Show me, and I said, okay, well, I'll talk about this, this, and this. And the next day he hit me and said, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. So he kind of brought me on with Packernet podcast. That's really what pushed me forward initially. And then also, it's got to start with Ryan, giving me an opportunity. There's so many different platforms, so many different people that have podcasts and everything. I know there's other folks out there that are probably way more qualified than me, especially from a professionalism standpoint. But he gave me a shot, and moving forward too, there's been many times he's given me advice early on that has just helped me so much. And if he heard me saying this, he probably wouldn't talk to me for a week, because that's just the type of person he is. He doesn't want any of the limelight. He doesn't want any credit for anything. Ryan wants to talk football, spend time with his family, and be left alone. It's that simple, right? And I respect the heck out of that. And then, of course, Paul Brettel is another one that here recently, watching him interact on social media, he's one that makes me want to be way more professional than I am, because sometimes we get way too goofy. It kind of helps keep me grounded there. And he's become what I would consider a friend. Some of the conversations we've had pre-show, because we have him on once a week. Paul Burrell's an awesome guy. And then the two people that are kind of my co-hosts, Jacob from Packernet Fantasy Podcast. He's on with me all the time. He's kind of my right-hand man. And, we're just kind of getting this thing kicked off. And then we met one of the listeners, Tim. He was actually a listener. And he called in a couple of times, because we open up the phone lines sometimes. He called in, and I was like, I really like this guy's energy. He just seems like a nice guy, heart. He seems like a polite person. And I asked him one time, I said, hey, he actually called in, and I said, you can hang around for a little bit if you want. And he did. And sure enough, man, it's like now he's one of those guys. He's always got the link. If he wants to hop on, he can hop on. And he seems to love it. He's building a studio in his basement in Green Bay right now. So he's putting some stuff together. And it's cool, because, like, there's a couple other people, too, that call in that I'm like, hey, if they want to be a part of it, they can, too. And this is how – I don't know if you guys are fans of Pat McAfee. I understand he's brash and he's got that language. It's there's many times, depending on who's in my house, I got to turn it off, right? But that's how he got started. He started doing a podcast. And these callers were calling in. He's like, I like that guy. I'm going to see if he wants to do the show. And that's how he built his team, right? So, why not us? Why not be that? And not just us, but us, all of us. Why not create something like that for the Packer community specifically? If the Pat McAfee show, all they talked about was the Packers, it's all that would be on my TV, right? Why don't we as a community create that here?
Right.
So, but yeah, those are the people for sure. Like I said, Mandy, first and foremost, Ryan Schlip. Paul Brettel's been great. And then, of course, Jacob and Tim, just creating a friendship with them. Those text messages you get from people that you haven't known, only through podcasting, and they tell you what you mean to them and how you've impacted them, and the feeling's mutual. That's everything in life's meant to be shared with other people. That's it. When you're on your deathbed, I have a hard time believing you're going to look back and go, man, I wish I'd have made more money. I wish I would have, it's probably going to be, I wish I would have slow down a little bit and let people know, how they impacted me, and just try to make a little bit of a difference in this crazy world.
Yeah. That's a lot of great stuff there, Clayton. My goodness. I want to start by saying, like, for us, thank your wife, because I'm really glad that, like, you're a part of this community, that, like, we get to, experience the stuff you're putting out there, the energy that you put into the community and out to the world. So Mandy, thank you. And then
she's the brains of this operation. She has been since day one. I'm just telling you.
And you're talking a couple times in there's like a thread through there of, like, I think it sounds like you think about, like, are you professional enough in the stuff you do? And I mean, I just feel like the thing to do is just be yourself, because there's a very wide range of, like, professionalism, so-called, from, like, the very silly people out there to the very, very serious, from your like, say Matub to, like, John Meerding, for example, for, like, different opposites of the the spectrum. And I think there's the space in there, Clayton, for you to not worry about how professionally you can come across, because I mean, for me, when I, like, listen to your stuff, I'm just like, this dude knows ball, and he's fun to listen to, and, like, your self-deprecating sense of humor is something I really enjoy, that with your positivity. So I just want to say, man, no, you're good. Just keep being.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Just do you, boo.
Yeah,
exactly.
Have a little fun, right? That's the main thing. If you're not having fun, it ain't worth doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And does Mandy love football?
Yeah, she one of the first times I'll never forget it. One of the first times I went to her house, she was first of all she was a cheerleader. She was cheer captain. She's a couple years younger than me. So when we started dating, I was a let's see, I was a junior, no, a senior, going into the senior year, and she was a sophomore, and I was captain of the baseball team, and she was a young cheerleader, but she was just I thought she just likes to cheer, that's her thing. But the first time that I went over to meet her parents, and we were kind of talking. She was 15 and I was 17. That's how young we were.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now 41, and so I go over there and walk in, the house, and ask her mom, I introduced myself or whatever, and she said Mandy's in her bedroom, and I walked back there. I'll never forget. She was sitting in the floor, and she was playing a football video game. Right? And I thought, this is God right here. Like, God's lining this up right now. She was already a football fan. She was. And she's always been like that. And even if she didn't like it, she would fake it for me. That's just the type of person she is. She hit it off with my mom right off the bat. And we kind of come from a rough upbringing. Our family did. Mandy's mom was the mayor back home. So my dad was a biker, president of a biker gang. Her mom was the mayor. And as you can imagine, it was a little rocky at first. Her mom was going, no. But, now after some health issues and stuff, her mom lives with us. And I think Mandy would agree that her mom's closer to me than she is her now. So, which is cool. So we have a good time with it. But yeah, she loved football. She loved football when I first met her. And like I said, I thought it was a facade of she's just a cheerleader. She's got to like football, but she loved it. And she'll talk ball too. She knows what she's talking about. I couldn't tell you how many times I walk in her room and she's more upset about the Packers losing than I am. She's like, "Can you believe they did that in the middle eight? Like, why would they not get the field goal right before halftime? Calm down. You're making me nervous." Like, she loves it though.
Funny, good partner. There's a comment I want to highlight from Pappy here. Pappy says, Clayton seems to have a nice spiritual grounding, and Matt's locks seem to have a mind of their own in a good way. Pappy, I'm having a weird hair day, man. Yeah, no, absolutely, Clayton, with the nice spiritual grounding. It's a good way of putting it.
If that's a weird hair day, sign me up, man. I'm telling you.
Very strange hair day. What's going on with it? I don't know.
As far as spiritual, though, like, I won't go too deep, but I grew up, we were on welfare. When I was born, we lived in housing projects. We moved like 5 times in about a year, kept getting evicted. And I was very young, didn't realize it at the time, but as I got a little bit older, realized, okay, there's other people that are, I guess, normal, and we're not, And I really, just to be 100% transparent, I remember thinking, for a lot of reasons that I won't go into detail with, and it's not, this isn't the time or place. I just remember thinking, if these people in church care so much, why is someone not trying to help us? You know what I mean? So I really put up this wall when it comes to that. And again, I don't care what anybody's religion is. It does, I love talking to people who have differing opinions from me, because that's when you learn. Like, if you just stay in your echo chamber, you're never going to grow as a person. But once again, it was Mandy that opened my eyes to that other aspect of life, the most important aspect. And ever since then, I have been spiritually grounded. Not perfect, farthest thing from it. My goodness, I get reminded on a daily basis. Trust me, not by her, but just in my opinion, what is God? Like, hey, dude, there's something in us that says that's not right, and I feel that multiple times per day. It's just you grow up in a biker family, and it's, hey, look, don't trust anybody. That's not, me as a Christian, that's just my personal belief. That's not what the book says at all. Hey, you got to look out for you and yours. That's not what the book says at all. Like, it's all about just caring for other people. And there's a reason you feel so good when you do something nice for someone else. And sometimes we get selfish and get in the way of that. But yeah, as far as spiritual grounding, it took me experiencing that at a young age, and then getting to the point where I had to overcome that and realize, hey, look, that's not what this is supposed to be. There's bad people everywhere. Like there's bad people in every organization, every religion, everything. But it was just right for me. And the people that try to push other people away because they don't believe the way they believe, if you dug into their religion that they claim they believe in, it's probably not accurate. So I don't know if that makes sense. I'm rambling now.
No, it makes a lot of sense. No, a lot of stuff you hit on there. I mean, I think when I think of like spiritualism, like seeing Peppy write that, spiritual grounding, for me, like that can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. And I will say, like you kind of said, like without getting too much into it, because this isn't necessarily the time or the place for it. But I will just hit it really fast. Is that like I'm not somebody who really is into like organized religion for the most part, because kind of like you're saying, Clayton, there's a lot of space for people to abuse that and use it as a tool to do bad things, let's just say. But I do feel very like connected to the people around me and to the world and to like a sense of how can I make the places around me better, how can I help other people. So when I think of like a spiritual grounding, for me that's what that is. It's like, and I sense that from you as being somebody who like cares about others and cares about putting good energy into the world. So yeah, definitely.
I think there's a lot to that. And again, it's just what you said there. I'm trying not to go too deep. It does. There's been many times that I look up and find myself judging organizations, right? And I'm going, man, that's not what it's supposed to be. But I have to check myself and go, hold up, buddy, you're not perfect and you ain't supposed to be judging. Why don't you stop spending mental energy on that and go help somebody, right? And that's where I have to check myself all the time. But yeah. But again, growing up in the household I grew up in, the first natural instinct is to be mad at someone, and I have to always check myself on that and go, hey, look, that's rule number one, first of all. But yeah, it's good. I hope everybody finds what they're looking for in that regard, and I'm always willing to talk to people about that in private. And I darn sure don't want to be the person that pushes it on someone, because that's the worst. And I've told so many people, I'm like, you think you're doing the right thing here, buddy, but you're not. You're pushing them further away. I know that because I was that person. So.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. Thank you for all that. Yeah. I love that. Mom's tooling around. She's got her walker going. What you doing, Mom?
Getting the heat pad going.
Oh, you're going to do the heating pad? Okay. Mom wants you to
nice.
Jersey for this Sunday.
Uh-oh. Nice. Love it. One of my favorite all-time players, man. One of my favorite all-time players.
For the folks just listening to the podcast, that is a Clay Matthews jersey that Dawn just flashed on the camera here. Very exciting.
I have to do that all the time on the pod. I'm talking about plays and this and that. I'm going, you see right here and over here, and people on the pod are going, you moron. You know I can't see this.
Well, I wanted Mom to make a cameo, but she said just the jersey. I guess. She wasn't up to it. So
it's funny. I told Mandy, I was like, you ought to hop on this podcast with me. Dom would love you.
I would love that.
The issue is she's dealing with a few symptoms right now, so she would be coughing a lot, and she's yeah, that would be bad. So
that's fair.
I could catch it. I don't want to catch it.
Exactly. Come on. She's awesome though. She anytime we go anywhere, it's I introduce myself and I go, "This is my wife," and she just takes over. She's the life of the party. I'm the boring, dull person sitting in the corner going, "What time are we leaving? What time are we leaving?" So, she's awesome. She's amazing.
Is Mandy into true crime at all or trials?
I think more so now than she ever has been. There was a time that we were together, kind of like you were talking about, Don. At one point you were like, "I don't want to see that."
Right.
She got into the. I'm probably going to butcher it, but the Murdaugh trials.
Yep.
Right? Oh,
yep.
We got pulled completely into that. Oh my goodness. And I'm still watching following up videos with his other son and interviews and things like that. And, yeah. And every now and again we'll binge something like that. We'll go on Netflix and go, all right, what's the true crime documentaries right now? So that's definitely something that she gets into. But she is very much so a more positive person. like I said, she's definitely the key to everything that goes on in our household and keeping things extremely positive
Mhm.
and bright and bubbly. That was one of her nicknames, Bubbles. They call her
Bubbles.
because she walks in the room and it's just lit up. But yeah, she does get into some true crime though. I'm gonna turn her on to your stuff for sure.
Well, yeah, and let her know if she wants to be a guest. We can talk about Murdaugh or something else. The whole Buster thing was I'm intrigued with the whole Buster.
That's the thing right now. What I gotta ask, we're off topic. Matt's probably gonna kill us, but I gotta ask.
I'm good.
Do you think Buster had anything to do with Steven's death? How do you feel about it? Because I'm kind of torn. Like, part of me listens to Buster talk, and I don't think he's done anything wrong. And then you look at kind of the evidence and the history of Low County and all that, right? And it's like, or Low Country, I should say. And it's like, I don't know, man. It does kind of line up, right? How do you feel, Don? You're judge, jury, executioner right now.
What I like to do with my true crime podcast is usually trial, so I can be like a potential juror.
Yeah.
But since he's not yet on trial or hasn't been charged, I am reluctant to. But I certainly go back and forth like you do on it. I believe where there's smoke, there's fire, and I don't understand. I just don't understand. There's a lot of that it wasn't investigated properly, just like Pawpaw. Pappy says poor Pawpaw. Just like Megs and Pawpaw murder was it. And so I don't know if they got more evidence by exhuming his body and doing a new autopsy. I don't know what they found, but it's just all sus.
Yeah.
So I'm suspicious, but I wouldn't say I am convinced either way at this point.
If everything in that documentary was accurately reported, and I believe it was, there's no way that was just a hit and run. There's no way.
I don't think it was a hit and run.
Couldn't have been. So,
gosh, no.
Yeah.
No.
So there's the smoke we're talking about. There's got to be fire somewhere. Now it's just who, right? And
right. And who? Right.
It's a small town,
Exactly. And who had the motive? So yeah,
I have to put my detective cap on here. Remember, I'll tell you what, get me excited over here.
Okay, Pappy wants to know what Dawn's drinking. She's drinking Line and Kugels Summer Shandy. It's kind of a lemony shandy.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And Pappy wants to know what has Clayton mixed with his iced tea.
Well, this isn't actually iced tea. It is. This is Oktoberfest, Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
Oh, there you go.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and they've got a new one. To the best of my knowledge, it's called Jacko. Was it Jacko Pumpkin Ale? Really good.
Check that out. Yeah, I like the Oktoberfest. It's just a really good. It drinks real nice. It's versatile. Goes lots of kinds of food. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now if you ain't careful, it will put some weight on you. Let me tell you. So one and not limit for me. And alcoholism is definitely something I'm very aware of, just based off of my family's history. So got very strict limitations on myself for that reason. But one and not put you right to bed for sure.
There you go.
And also breaking news here in the Thomas studio, Smokey is out from under the bed. Just one.
Okay. Kids are warming up. That's great.
Well, we have Tosh in the room. They haven't yet interacted, but Tosh wants to play, but Smokey's like, not sure. I don't know.
They'll be best friends by the time you go.
Yeah, it's like a minute before I leave, they'll get it worked out.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I didn't do my job this week, but I have a reason. I don't have any superlatives, so this is like the third time. I'm so sorry.
You've been traveling, Dawn. You've been traveling across the entire country, so I mean, you're good. All right, you get a pass. With
a cat, and you know what happened? I forgot to tell you this. Okay, so when you go through security check with a cat, they're in a carrier, of course. Hopefully, you're not just going to walk into an airport with a cat. But I you have to take the cat out. Like when all that's going on, people taking off their shoes, taking off their coats, putting all the blah, blah, blah. And you have to carry them through, or you get a private room, but they have to, it's so that the carrier can go through with the, like where the luggage. Okay. Yeah. So I waited I got there early and I waited like extra 30-ish, 45 minutes to get a room. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have to worry about losing the cat in the airport. Mm-hmm. And so I get in the room with 2 TSA agents and I said, just give me a second. I have to put her harness on and hold her, and the I don't know if she wasn't paying attention to what I said or whatever, but she opened the door and this is an airport and I didn't have the harness on and Kat was trying to jump off and I'm like, close the door. Yeah, it was like, are you kidding me?
Were they new? Was it first day on the job? Like what?
Why? I was with a cat. What do you think cats are going to do in an airport? Anyway, so she didn't have the harness on, which had her tracker. So she didn't have any collar or anything. I was so upset, but I grabbed her, the poor cat, anyway, and I was like, close the door! That's out of the bag! I don't know what she was in such a hurry for. I waited 45 minutes. She could have given me a minute to get the cat out, but that was the only thing that happened that was a little scary, but I don't know why I thought about that right now, but that's my superlative.
There you go.
The worst TSA agent.
Well, Clayton, I think you got some superlatives, right? I think I saw some in the show doc that you brought, right?
Yeah. So I did a Best Packers Twitter follow. One of them I mentioned. Ryan Schlip's one of my favorite. Like I said, he's honest, upfront, got a great dry sense of humor, just absolutely awesome. Mm-hmm. And also, his podcast is great, which we'll talk about in a second. But one of my favorite follows, like I said, Ryan, upfront, no agenda, and I love that he leaves politics out of football. He doesn't get into all that, and it's just straightforward. And I don't know, I connect with him a lot, personality wise. Love his sense of humor. As far as best podcasts, obviously his Packernet podcast was one that drew me into listening to Packers podcasts in general, because he did one every single day. Mm-hmm. Didn't always agree with him, right? But you knew day in and day out, even in the off season, you were going to have a podcast to listen to, and I really appreciated that. But outside of him, the Pat McAfee show, I love it. And again, I understand the language, very brash. Some of the stuff they say, they've got as a biker's son, I find myself blushing like, oh, yeah, it's out of control here. But I do love their camaraderie, right, and how he's kind of built his team. And they play. Once you learn everybody's personalities, the show is it's awesome. And the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi is probably my favorite football podcast. I've learned more with that podcast than any others. Read his books too, Gridiron Genius. I'm about to get Football Done Right. That's one of his new books, but that podcast is phenomenal. When you talk about best books, you guys asked, best book you should read this off season. The book that I read this past off season, I would recommend to anyone, and that is Bill Walsh. The Score Takes Care of Itself. It was a book that an author approached Bill about, and Bill kind of turned it down. And then when Bill went back to him and said, hey, yeah, let's do the book, as they were working on the book, Bill Walsh got sick, and he stopped responding to the guy, and the guy didn't know. He found out that Bill was basically in a hospital, and he found out he was terminally ill, and Bill kind of kept that from him too, didn't spring that on or anything. So his son reached back out to this author and said, hey, you should finish that book. And if you get a chance I learned so much. One of the things you guys hear us podcasters talk about all the time with the Packers is, with Matt LaFleur's offense, is the pre-snap motion, right? Mm-hmm. All the motion that's involved. The way that motion was created in football in the West Coast offense is crazy. And I learned it in this book. There was a play when Bill Walsh was in Cincinnati. I'm trying to remember the story correctly. I may be a little off, but essentially he was the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati, and they had a broken play where the tight end lined up on the wrong side of the field, and the tight end realized that, oh crap, I'm on the wrong side, so he shifted over to the other side, and when he did, the defense just went nuts. They didn't know what to do. They panicked, and it was a broken play. They ended up losing the game, I believe. And they're watching film on Monday, and Bill Johnson, which is one of Bill Walsh's best friends on the staff, who ended up getting the head coaching job in Cincinnati, which forced Bill Walsh to leave and go somewhere else. He watched the tape and he was like, what if we did that on purpose? And that's how motion was created. So that's just one little snippet of that Bill Walsh book. Just little things like that. Those are the things I geek out over. I really do. I could care less how much of a trash quarterback Justin Fields is, but those little things right there, like, you know, oh, I love it. I'm a geek for that stuff. So I think that would be my superlatives. Hopefully that answered that question.
Love it.
Those are
so many
great.
people in the Packers community, too many to mention, but yeah, those are the things that I probably listen to the most. So.
Yeah, those were great, Clayton. The point you made there at the end there, there's too many to mention. I mean, I'll see even for myself today, getting ready for the show, I had like 6, and I had to like narrow it down to 3. It was hard to do. Some weeks it's really, and especially now with like the fire hose of content that's happening, you know, with the season being in full gear, like there's so much good stuff, and that kind of goes back to what you're saying before about just all the different personalities, you know, in the community, especially the content creators. There's just such a ridiculous, you know, embarrassment of riches that we have. Like any kind of, you know, tone or approach that you want to, like, you know, take in, someone's doing it. Someone's out there making it, because we have so many people making so much stuff. And I mean, I often wonder, like, do other fan bases have it this good? I can't imagine having it better. So I mean, we're very lucky. We're very fortunate.
Yeah, for
Very
sure.
well said. Very well said.
But yeah, that's a lot of good ones, man. Well, I have 3 as usual. So I guess want me to launch into those?
Yeah, launch away. Blast off.
So my first one is best return. So I'd mentioned Matub earlier, one of my favorite people on Packers Twitter, just hilarious and smart. And of course, we had him on the show, a week or a month and a half ago, whenever that was, and he was fantastic. So good with conversation. But anyhow, he recently restarted a series he had been doing like a couple of years back. I think 2 years ago was the last time he did it, called Hottest Take of the Week, which is like a video of him just talking through some hot takes, kind of, you know, putting some opinions out there. And it's a lot of fun because, you know, usually you get Matub in like tweet sized increments, or like on Reporting as Eligible, where he's one of the 3 people on it. But this is just like 8 or 9 or 10 minutes of just Matub kind of going off. And so really glad he's starting to do those. He had mentioned that he's not going to be able to do them every single week. I know that this week he's kind of traveling, and so has like unreliable Wi-Fi. But suffice to say, seek it out. Look for Matub's hottest takes of the week. This last one is called Eccentric Isometrics and Receipts. And he's talking about this like kind of like potentially hack trainer that Kingsley and Agbar was working with in the off season, which is what the eccentric isometric part is about. And of course, receipts. He was bringing up receipts from you know, the Bears fans from before the season started, and it was just so glorious. It was so well done. It was so much fun to listen to. So, highly recommend that. It'll be a video. Like I said, probably most weeks, and it gets posted on the Acme Packing Co. Website, of course, and he will, you know, is posted on his own Twitter as well. So highly recommend that. Did either of you see that one? Did you see that, guys?
No, I love it. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, as always, the stuff will be in the show notes, of course, all the links.
I listened to a lot of content before I left, and it was mostly, you know, reactions to Sunday's game. And I was waiting because I wanted to listen to like some predictions and stuff for this coming game. But then I kind of have been out of commission for a couple of days. So I kind of got stuck there. Like, I think it was Monday was the last time I was able to listen to anything.
Yeah, Monday's still definitely like the part of the cycle of the week where people are still breaking down the last game, or not looking forward, you know, not looking forward, but like getting ready and talking about the next game quite yet. I'd mentioned a second ago that I had to narrow it down from 6 originally. I'm just going to throw one back in here actually real fast though. So kind of a bonus, you know, 1B here for me was best debut. Speaking of like breaking down the game coming up, because Pack-A-Day had its new Friday crew starting last Friday with Monty Moore, Shanna Quinn, and Nathan Marzian. And they're talking about, what are it's the stuff that the old Friday crew, was tasked with talking about too. Andrew Mertig, Kyle Fellows, and Maggie Loney talking about like what are the X factors for the game going to be. And so, to put in like a whole new crew of people who are new to Pack-A-Day, say, okay, you guys have to pick up this thing that the last crew did really, really well and go. I was very impressed. Like they did great work. And also for being like a new trio, the rapport they had right away, the way they're able to kind of like play off each other. You could tell there was like, like I said, a good rapport, a good respect, a willingness to like give the floor to each other, like in turn and stuff. So really amazing debut from those guys. I'm really looking forward to hearing their podcast tomorrow, because since that's the Friday Pack-A-Day crew. So can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I'm a big Maggie Loney fan. Like
she's amazing.
She's awesome. Like I want to adopt her as a sister. Like,
there you go.
Somehow, some way. Like she's just every time I listen to her, she just seems like the most polite person. And man, does she know football? It is awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely awesome.
I have so much respect for Maggie. She's got to be hands down one of the smartest football minds in our Packers Twitter online content creation community. Just one of the smartest people. Every time I listen to her on Pack's What She Said, or when she's on Pack-A-Day, I feel like I always learn something every time she's talking about things. She's love
absolutely. Somebody tweeted out a little while back. They said, tag the Packers content creator that you would want to take into a fight with you, right? Like, and I tagged Maggie, and I was like, she's got that new mom strength. I'm going with Maggie.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Can't mess with that. All right, guys. Well, my next one, I've got a best tweet. So this is coming from Brandon Perna, who is a noted Broncos fan, and of course does a lot of collaboration with Tom Grossi. Real good dude. And so this is a tweet that he put out that got a lot of likes for good reason. I'm just going to read it. Okay, so Baker Mayfield leads Deshaun Watson in every QB metric. Number 1, passing yards. Number 2, touchdown passes. Number 3, yards per attempt. Number 4, completion percentage. Number 5, passer rating. Number 6, penalties. Number 7, interceptions. Number 8, treating women with respect and dignity. Oh, damn. Dropped the hammer on Deshaun Watson. I loved that. Made me so happy to see that.
I don't think most people are ready to let that go yet.
Nope, nor should they.
It's still too early.
I mean, living in Ohio, and especially working at a school that brings in people from across the state, there are a lot of students and a lot of people I work with who are huge Browns fans. And, most of them, I've found when I talk to them, they're like, I don't love that guy. I'm not glad that we took him on, but, they're still fans of like the other players because there's a lot of good people, on the team that we can actually really respect. So, I mean, it's, enough said.
When you compare, Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson in their production, this year, what's crazy is, like Baker Mayfield's getting paid against the cap this year. It's only $1.7 million.
Oh, that's terrible.
That right?
And he's outperforming Deshaun Watson, who has like a $270 million guaranteed contract. Suave. Absolutely. I personally like Baker. I know he rubs people the wrong way.
No, I like Baker.
Yeah, I love his moxie, his whole, when he planted that flag at Ohio State, I was like, that's my guy right there. That's a guy. I've rooted for him ever since. And, of course, Cleveland just about destroyed him, right? Let's be honest. So, as long as he's not playing the Packers, I'm rooting for Baker.
Well, last time we played the Packers, we won. So,
I was actually there for that one.
Last 2 times, right?
Yeah, I think it was twice,
Yep. So, hey, I got no problem with that. Well, I guess I got one more here, one more superlative for the week, and this is best explanation. So I actually mentioned a second ago one of my favorite podcasts, Reporting is Eligible, which, again, is on Matub, and Paul Noonan and J.R. Radcliffe. Now, this is a great podcast because the guys will be pretty silly but also so smart. And it's just really, it's a fun listen. So I can't mention them, or I can't recommend them highly enough, folks. But anyhow, I'm bringing it up today because, trying to make sense of the Falcons game. Like, what happened? How did we let this like slip through our fingers? What was it about the Falcons that, how are they able to exploit the Packers' weaknesses? What happened? Trying to process it. And so, one of the things that drives me to listen to so much content, especially just after or just before a game, is like just to get clarity. And especially after a game that was so confusing like that one, like what happened? So heard a lot of people's takes on it, of course, dissecting it, analyzing it. But the one that really helped the most, and that's why this superlative is best explanation, was Paul Noonan talking about how, look, this was just from a matchup standpoint, from like strengths versus weaknesses, this was always gonna be a hard one because the Falcons are such like a run heavy team. I mean, Tyler Algier is already like fantastic running back, but you throw Bijan into the mix and that guy's like superhuman, just a star breaking out before us. Like, yeah, our run defense is not great, and we have a team that's not built to have good run defense. That's just not like how they've designed it. It's been an intentional thing for it to be that way. So to go against a team that's like so focused on running and so good at it, it's like, yeah, that was going to be a struggle. And I can see how by the end of the game, they kind of figured it out and, kept especially keeping our defense on the field for like most of the second half, pretty much. It's like, yeah, actually, you know what? We still have a really good team. It's just a bad matchup. Like, and of course, look at some of the stuff that our team did in the game. There's some really amazing stuff to pull from it, starting with like Jordan Love's performance from like advanced metrics. He was amazing out there. But we lost because it was just a bad matchup, for us. And so, congratulations to the Falcons on that. But I think, looking at the positive stuff that we can take from it and the fact that we're going to find very few teams that are that good at running, we still, have a good chance to win a lot of games this year.
Yeah, completely agree.
I hope so. But either way, I'm not going to feel as bad about it as I did with Mr. MVP at the helm. So.
What do you mean, Don? What are you talking about?
On that.
I know, but I just don't feel that badly. I mean, I was bummed. I mean, it was one point we had to lead the whole game. It was kind of like, come on.
That's what made it tough. Yeah. We could have won it, right? That's what
was. But it's like, this is what we're going to get with a new young team. So
absolutely,
I can live with that. Yeah. I like it.
Indeed.
Well, any final thoughts before we say our good nights? First to you, Clayton.
Just want to say thanks for the invite. Like I said, I love tuning into you guys. Usually when I finish my pod on Thursdays, I immediately jump over here and listen to you guys. And just like I said, keep it positive. Thank you so much for that. The world needs more of that, that's for sure. And just really, if anyone who's listening to this, thank you for accepting us into this kind of Packers social media. We've been on Twitter now for a little over a year, and like I said, had to weed some out, but the people that we're connected with it's just awesome. You matter. You probably don't think you do. You probably don't think that your likes are even noticed or your comments are noticed, but you're making a difference when you comment on people's stuff and just reaching out and communicating and having a good time. It's I just don't think people realize, even though we don't know each other personally, how much they're impacting other people's lives. You never know what kind of day someone's having, and love this community. And like I said, really appreciate what you guys are doing, because you're spearheading it. You're pulling these type of people together, and you're making all of us aware. Just like I said, I would have never found Baz's channel if it hadn't been for you guys talking about Basarski Productions. So you're what's kind of connecting people, and it's awesome. We can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. That's so nice. Thanks, man.
So glad you came to our show, and had a little rescheduling here and there, but we made it, and it was totally worth it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I had a blast.
It's so great having you, man. Don, do you have any other final thoughts?
No final thoughts.
All right.
No final thoughts. No initial thoughts. No thoughts at all.
No thoughts in the middle. Just anywhere. Just
brain is
down,
tired.
left, right. All right, well, bring it home. Just to say one more time, thanks to Clayton. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter, which I'm never going to call X, at Packers_access. It'll always be Twitter. Never once. And so Packers_access. Make sure to give Clayton a follow for his brilliant football mind, for his content, for just his good vibes. He's just the best dude. So friends, of course, you'll find links in our show description for everyone we mentioned, so please check it out. Also, we'd love to have a chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know. And that does include yourself, by the way. We have had that a couple times, and it was delightful. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie, that's right. Because we love you. We're so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and to have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod, and we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.